The views and opinions on this podcast are just that, our beliefs, views, and opinions. Not everyone will agree with what is said, and that's okay. Our goal is to provoke thought and maybe inspire as we delve into all things occult, pagan, Wiccan, and witchcraft related. Book of Shadows podcast is sponsored by the Gypsy Haven, Elgin, Illinois' largest witch shop at www.thegypsyhaven.com and online Wiccan supplies, providing thousands of items for your personal needs at www.onlinewiccansupplies.com. Hi guys, welcome back to Book of Shadows podcast number 2. This is Feather.
And Shay.
Hope y'all have been well and staying warm. It's really cold here in Elgin, Illinois, but we're surviving. I want to thank all of you guys for listening to our first podcast and the reviews and the feedback and the questions we're getting. That makes us excited to say, okay, if you're listening, then we're going to keep talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah, keep talking. So before we get into today's topic, we figured we'd go ahead and start off with some of the comments or questions that you guys had off of our first podcast.
So the first question would be from Stephanie. And I don't know if the holidays were brought up, like Samhain, Yule, etc., the meaning of the holidays and how the two of you celebrate. But that would be really cool to hear about. So first I'm going to address that part. We're going to probably be doing holiday episodes as we get closer to those holidays.
Right.
So probably sometime in December, we're going to discuss Yule, and we'll talk about that holiday, what we do normally, and that kind of stuff. And then we'll break off into another normal podcast, and then every other holiday.
I mean,
shows up.
Today's Tuesday, so Thursday is the traditional Thanksgiving. However, we pagans, we kind of already celebrated the big harvest day of Mabon. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think we will skip talking about those until we get close to Yule.
Yeah. Then her other part of her question was, how well did your family and friends accept your path of spirituality? So I'll let you start, and then I'll jump in on my family side.
On your family
Deal with
side.
your own family.
My own family side?
Yeah.
All right. Well, before the my big transition, even playing with witchcraft and stuff at a young age as a teenager, I think I kind of briefly went over that in episode number 1, was that, my mom was really cool. I didn't grow up with my mom. I grew up with my dad, so I didn't have anything other than the Methodist, upbringing with dad. But when I got in with mom, it's not like I wanted to run out to the occult bookstore because I didn't know it existed. I was just doing those candle spells and rituals in a closet, and she pretty much left me alone as long as I wasn't burning the house down and I wasn't running around with big upside down crosses on my forehead or anything. And even then, it was short lived. So as far as me growing up being young, that didn't really take place. I was well out of the house at 30 years old. When all of this made a big impact on my life, when you and I were already together. So our practice, I was always allowed to do it in the privacy of my own home. So as far as my family goes, it gets a little, not touchy, but a little weird sometimes, because my father's present wife is a born-again Christian, and she loves her Jesus. I mean, She's an awesome, awesome lady, and I don't think that she quite understands what you and I do for a living as far as the shop goes, or even our own spiritual path.
If she does, it's just playing ignorant to it.
Well, and that's okay, because I honestly don't think that she truly knows. For the past 5-6 Christmases, she tends to send us they're beautiful pieces of art, but they're crosses made of shells or just intricate things. Yeah, and I think that she would a subtle hint that, hey, Jesus loves you. It's like, yes, I know, thank you. I will find a very nice home for this beautiful crucifix not crucifix, but this lovely cross that you gave me. And so we don't really talk about it, but we're not really, really close. And as far as my mom goes, I mean, she's been to the shop multiple times. She's in and out of our lives often.
She loves the shop.
She does. She really does. Now,
she could move out here and work here, she would.
Yeah, and I would gladly take her. But I know that there are some things that we do that she kind of cocks her head and says, "What? Y'all are fucking weird." I think that we can actually get further into that later on when we get into tonight's topic, but I have been blessed to the fact that I don't really have many interruptions from my family as to what I believe and what I practice. So, I think I'm pretty lucky. You could talk about your family.
Me now?
Yeah.
Well, where do I start?
Start with your mom.
I already said, leaving the last podcast, my mother's awesome. Or she was awesome. She passed away last year, December 14th. But it's like I was allowed to pretty much do whatever I wanted to do. My father left when I was young, really young. So he went off, found God, and became hardcore Christian, which is cool, works for him. And my mother, she didn't really, anything I was into, I was able to do. I mean, I didn't know how to, a lot of the books, like I said, in the last one, I mean, she had all these collections of mystical books, that kind of stuff. I read a lot of that stuff growing up, even though she really didn't hardcore practice it. I mean, my mother got into animal totems, reading those cards later in her life, where she loved doing it. She was always intrigued by tarot. She always collected different stones, just as long as they had some kind of Native American type resemblance on it or to it. So, I mean, with that, I never had an issue. I could talk to my mother about anything when it came to what we're doing. She might not quite understand it. She gave me kind of like weird looks too sometimes with certain things, but
she never had anything negative to say about it.
No,
ever.
Never. My dad, on the other hand, I mean, when I was a kid, it was bad. When I got older, it kind of mellowed out more. But even when we opened the shop for the first time, and we didn't really explain to people what kind of shop we were, at least to our family anyway. And then my dad came into town one time for a visit. He's like, "I want to check out your new shop." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, here we go. This is going to be a whole night of nothing but preaching after this." Mm-hmm. So anyway, he came into the shop. He walked through the front door, looked around for about 5 minutes, turned around and walked back out. And then we didn't see him for probably about a good half hour or so. Then he showed back up, started asking a bunch of questions, and we answered his questions. And then by the end of the conversation, he was like, "Oh, I kind of understand it now." And then it was probably a couple of weeks later, he's calling me on the phone saying, "Hey, you guys should open up a shop here. Hey, you guys should open up a shop here.
My mind.
Hey, why don't you try to do this over here?" So, I mean, he kind of accepted what we were. I mean, again, though, when it comes to holidays for us, and I'm speaking for, I guess, just us for the most part, I mean, we'll celebrate our own way on those times, because even with Yule's technically right around the 21st
of December
for us, of December for us. So by the 25th, when that rolls around, the traditional Christmas from everybody else, we already practiced have our holiday. So we kind of just go with the flow, show up.
Them. Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, we're not there to convert people, change people's concepts of what they do, as long as they're happy and they're enjoying themselves, and we just go and fit in. Occasionally we'll throw in our little tweaks. I do that mainly with my nieces and nephews, trying to help them kind of see things from a different perspective instead of just their stuck thing. But for the most part, I mean, it really hasn't been any issues with family.
Yeah, they pretty much know. I think it's safe to say that our family knows.
Yeah, I mean, even my aunts and uncles, when I go back home sometimes for a visit, I get bombarded with questions. So what do you really do? What's this store like?
What is it really?
Well, I'm not into that, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I get stuff like that, but
you
nobody
know
ever
what?
said anything bad.
I think we can actually get into that later on when we start talking about the topic of this evening's podcast, because it really goes hand in hand. I'm really glad that she asked that question, because
cool.
It's perfect timing.
All right, so let's move to another question from somebody. Well, another Stephanie. This is a different one.
Trying not to mention last names.
Yeah. Last time I did, and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but anyway. So again, she's referring to the first Stephanie's question. So I like Stephanie's point about family and friends. Wicca and witchcraft are not usually an acceptable path for the family members of Christian and Catholics. Would you share those experiences with us, specifically how you came out and sustained your path, and were you able to maintain family relationships? And hopefully, I think we kind of answered that with the first one to
And
a degree.
we're going to be talking more about, I have a lot to say about that in a little bit as well. So we're not blowing off the question. You're just stay tuned. I think what we're going to say in a little bit will totally help you understand.
Okay. So this one's directed strictly toward me, I guess.
Hey,
This is from
she's got a
Susan.
fan.
She's like, would love to know more about Shay's experience with the Order of the Golden Dawn. All right. Well, I can't, because of the oath that I took, I really can't dissolve too much about what actually we do within the Dawn.
Ritual-wise, you mean?
Ritual, different things. I'll bring up some topics,
Do
but
you
it's
have
going
like
to be...
secret handshakes?
I'm not saying it can't
Okay.
say anything.
Okay.
So we have, there's certain things that I can bring up and I'll talk about briefly, but also in a future episodes, we're going to, one of the higher ups within the Golden Dawn is actually going to be on the podcast, and we'll go through and discuss the Golden Dawn. So if anybody's interested, you can kind of get his perspective on things, and then I can also see too how much I can go into later.
Right, without getting in trouble and spanked.
But anyway, so when I first joined the Dawn, I was very intrigued, just for the most part, of being agnostic. I'm still on this, I guess, pseudo quest, just for fulfillment within myself, to really think that if there is a divine out there, if there's something, I know there's something greater than me, but what exactly that is, I'm having a hard struggle with, because I have my own philosophies on different things. And I really do not believe in a God, just for the fact of...
And they're okay with that?
I can't see somebody standing up there pointing finger or changing, I don't know. Anyway, so I have a hard time with that. So I joined it for the fact of, because I know that they do a lot of stuff pertaining to different names of gods, things like that. And I want to see if this will help maybe enlighten me in a different way, maybe open up something in my own brain to say, oh, maybe there's something that I can kind of see out there. But when I first did my interview and stuff like that, and this is to answer your question, if they're okay with it, I kind of was upfront. I told them I was agnostic, and I told them exactly that, I'm hoping that maybe you guys will shed a little bit of light for me on seeing something that I don't quite believe in. But, so that was the first part.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
So I got in, so I'm like going through their systems. I'm in grade level number 2 now. And it's been eye-opening so far. The biggest struggle I had in the beginning is learning Hebrew, because that's one of the requirements I have to learn, and mainly how to write it and that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of stuff based on that. A lot of the other stuff is very similar to stuff I've been doing for the past X amount of time, especially with calling circles, quarters, things like that. I think one of the other biggest struggles I have is Archangel. I'll turn this music down just a hair bit. It's a little loud in my ear.
I'm digging the Native American stuff.
Yeah.
It is a little loud.
So, I have so with the archangels and things like that, I have a little bit of an issue with too. But again, now I'm just trying to put myself in the mindset of looking at them as energy presences and not really kind of like disregarding the name specifically itself, and trying to put myself in a different frame of mind when I'm trying to visualize these things and actually make them into a reality. But so far, it's going great. I like it. I'm learning different things, different techniques. It's opening my mind to a lot of other different stuff. So I think that's about as far as I can really delve into that right now, until I know for sure how much more I can expand on. But hopefully that answers the question.
Cool.
Is there anything you want to ask me about it that you're not quite sure about yet or no?
You're always coming home and like trying to pronounce things and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, you keep practicing on that. But what I'm getting out of your experience there is just higher knowledge, learning more to
It's the bottom line for me because, again, my belief system is knowledge is power. And I say that to a degree of depending on how you're going to use that knowledge, because knowledge can be used in a corrupt way or knowledge can be used in a good way. So I'm trying to expand and learn it and do it all in a good way, not a negative way.
Cool.
Yeah, all right. So I think the rest are just more comments and people
what you got?
telling us to hate us and that kind of stuff.
Nobody hates us yet.
They weren't questions. You want me to read them even?
What?
They weren't questions. They're just
What was it?
comments.
Okay. Well, I thought Ariel had something.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
See?
She did.
You've
That's why
got
you
the
put a
questions in
star
front of
next
you.
to it.
That's right. Come on, get your shit together.
I get it now. So from Ariel, she said, would you share that coven story because it's definitely not boring and could help others? And I think the coven story she's referring to is what you briefly touched on in the first episode when you said how you got into it, had a bad experience, but if you want to know more about it, then I'll tell you. And now she's asking, so spit away.
Okay, Ariel, I'm guessing that this is what you're talking about with your question. When I was young and starting to experiment and play and really enjoy myself playing with the fire rituals and the candles and stuff. Again, back then we didn't have the technology that we have nowadays, and I was actually flipping through the back of the classifieds in the newspaper, and I came across a class, and they were calling themselves a Wiccan group. So I'm like, okay, well, what's this Wicca thing? And I don't remember exactly what they said in the ad verbatim, but it was just like learn magic and the ways of nature and this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't really interested in the ways of nature back then, but you're going to teach me magic? That's cool. So I signed up for the class, and I went to this particular place. It wasn't in somebody's home. It was kind of in, I don't know, like a small commercialized building, sort of, but it was set up classroom style. And I remember, going in, and I was thinking that it was going to be all like witchy and, just a really cool ambiance, and it wasn't. It was very plain and boring, and we had tables and chairs, and very much like classroom style of sitting. And there was probably, if I could remember, 6 or 7 of us all together. And then there was a husband and wife that were up front teaching certain topics. We didn't spend a lot of time getting to know each other. We kind of went right to the books. So I'm sitting down, and I've attended a couple of these things. I'm like, okay, this is kind of neat. I'm learning, playing with a couple different herbs. Got some mustard seeds here, and they're talking all these weird. They were calling them more like chants, but I was super excited because I was going to learn from these people. But after being there for a short period of time, what was really strange was my gut kicked in, and it was louder than what this couple was saying. My gut was telling me that the things that they were teaching us weren't for us to do positive things. They were more aggressive type energy. It was like, to hurt people that were hurting us. And this has been a very long time ago, so the exact spell or whatever they were trying to teach us, it was like, I tried it again, and my gut just kept getting stronger and stronger. And it got to the point where at that time I didn't really have the balls to stand up and say, hey, you know what? You guys are making me feel uncomfortable. Is this right? Is this wrong? I just gathered my things and never came back. Well, that was the easy part. The fucked up part was that I wasn't there long enough to know exactly what these people practiced, how educated they were, how deep. But when they tried to contact me and they found out I wasn't coming back, really, really terrifying things started happening to me personally. Now, I can't prove anything that these people were responsible, but, the process of elimination as to what was going on inside my home towards me personally, it just scared the shit out of me. And I don't know, do you want to hear a couple of these things that scared the shit out of me, Shay? I mean, I know that you've been
I've
there,
already heard them all 100 times, but you can tell everybody else in case they can learn.
I can kind of keep it brief without dragging on and on. But they're inside my bedroom. I didn't have a whole lot of things, but I had some makeshift shelves with stuffed animals and that kind of stuff. And when I was home alone, I could feel the energy in my room changing. It just felt heavy. You know how it feels when somebody's there, like staring over your shoulder or like staring at you from a closet or something. I could feel that, and I would stop, and then I would like concentrate on that feeling, and things would start falling off my shelves. And I know that's really hard to believe for a lot of people, because even nowadays we're always talking that we can't defy physics. That's not what witches do, like what Hollywood portrays. We can't levitate, and that kind of stuff. But shit was falling off of my shelves.
Well, even talk with other people. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing when there are some kind of spiritual presences in the room.
Well, and if that is the case, then I firmly believe that these spirits, or whatever you want to call them, were conjured by these people to come and not harm me, but terrify me. And they did. I had scary experiences as to, again, being home alone at night, and something outside my bedroom window was literally destroying the screen to get in to my room. And I actually thought it was the dog out in the backyard, and I left my bedroom to go let him in, and the dog was asleep on the living room floor. Scared me so bad that I ran to the neighbor's house for the night because my stepfather wasn't home that evening. When we inspected the window the next morning, the screen was literally shredded. I mean, it looked like a wild animal had just shredded the shit out of the screen. I had mirrors burst inside my bedroom. The first thing that I would notice when I would be lying in bed, the peripheral out of my left eye was something pass from that same bedroom window, at night. My left eye would catch it. I would look, and then I looked quickly to the right, and I had one of those tall, cheap mirrors that you attach to, like, your closet door or something, and it just shattered into a million pieces. I have two more real quick little episodes, but one of them was, again, I was living with my stepfather, David, and I got up in the middle of the night to pee, and all this was around the same time. All these experiences happened within a week and a half to 2 weeks. I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you know how you are when you wake up, and you're still kind of like, nah. I stumbled my way into my bathroom. I had the light on, and I'm peeing, and to the left is my bathtub, and the shower curtain is closed. The light was on, and as I'm doing my business, I heard, clear as day, a fly inside of the bath, the shower with the closed curtain. And I kind of shook it off for a second. One fly turned into like 2, which turned into 10, which turned into 20. And it was so loud and freaked you out that, I don't remember if I wiped my butt, but I flew out of the bathroom. My stepfather had fallen asleep on the couch, and I ran in and I woke him up. Now, he was a hardcore born-again, what I like to call hippie-Christian, which we will talk about that a little bit, but I woke him up, scared to death, and I'm like, David, wake up, come to my bathroom. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And he did. He went to the bathroom, and it was gone. It was completely gone. So he, nodded off like I was just asleep or just batshit crazy, and he went back to sleep. I tried going back to bed. I could not sleep because I was so freaked out. I got back up, went back into the bathroom, closed the door behind me, and it started up again. And I ran out. The mirror didn't burst or anything else, but the sound. I didn't see flies, but I heard them. But then the scariest thing, it still gives me chills, was I was woken up, and you know how your eyes adjust to the dark? Mm-hmm. Well, I was lying flat on my back in bed, and I just was kind of looking up at the ceiling, and my eyes caught the most beautiful image that was directly above my head. and it was of light and smoke. You know how it just kind of like forms into a cloud type vision? And it was beautiful. It was like angelic almost. And I don't do angels or anything, but I think you can kind of imagine what I'm talking about. And it was just hovering above me. And then all of a sudden, it froze. It pulled back about 2 inches, and then it turned into the most hideous face I had ever seen. I mean, it was terrifying. Once it changed, it shot straight at my face, and then it continued to loop around, back, over and over and over and over again. And when this was happening, it was so scary that my head kept getting, I was pushing my head further and further back into my pillow, trying to get away from it. But the movement of whatever this was, actually, I could feel the breeze, and it was moving my hair. It was that strong. I was thoroughly convinced at that point in time after I calmed the fuck down, and I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember if I closed my eyes, and just fainted or passed out, or I honestly don't remember. But I remember gathering all of the tools that I had accumulated from this particular class that I had gone to, and I told my stepfather, the hypocrite at the time, and he was convinced that, I was working with the devil. So everything we brought back to my youth group at church. So, and then we tried to destroy the things. I brought it to my pastors, my youth pastors. They went to destroy the items that I brought them, and the fuckers would not burn. So
you were in youth group?
Yeah.
And trying to be a witch at the same time.
Well, I was in youth group because, with him, he was the type, he went to church like 4 times a week. So that wasn't anything new to me, when I was with my mother and my stepfather. They went to church often.
Yeah.
But I only went, because it was just something that we did. I was still kind of antisocial back then, so, I was kind of friendly with some of my peers, but not friends. So, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I would go to youth group and church and stuff, but I wouldn't say that I felt the love of Christ in my heart, it wasn't like that at all. But I tell you what, from the experience that I had with these people, and knowing that my gut was right, and the instinct to run from it and leave them led to a terrifying event that had me running back to the church just for my own safety. It scared me that bad. And so
scare anybody that
bad. Yeah. So for the longest time, I didn't want to hear anything about magic or witchcraft, or I just felt nice and safe and snuggly, like wrapped around the Jesus blanket, because at least this bad shit wasn't happening to me anymore. Now, going from that experience when I was younger to my path now, you have to understand that one of the things that I got out of it, when I knew that my shadow was begging for me, that there was something more outside of religion, which I spoke about in the first podcast, was that I didn't go back to people. People scared me the first time when I wanted to learn about witchcraft and this kind of stuff. Even the big W, Wicca word, because that's what they said that they were. They weren't Wiccan. I don't know what the fuck they were, but I don't know if that was just a luring mechanism to get people to trust them. I don't know. I have no idea whatever happened to these people. All I know is that what they were doing was not healthy. And I know still to this day there's plenty of people out there just like that try to get people sucked in and under a good, intention, and then turn around and do terrible things. So this happens all the time. It's very, very real. And when that does happen to people, just like it happened to me, I strongly encourage, go with your gut. These people are not healthy, then get the fuck away from them. They scared me, but they didn't hurt me. I'll never forget them, but I learned a lot from them.
Yeah. So I was going to say that's a little sort of public service announcement.
Yeah.
If anybody's trying to find things on Meetup, if you're trying to find things through papers, through other people coming across different things, whatever.
Go
get to
with your
know the
gut.
people first.
Yeah, please.
Before you try to get too far into what they're trying to do. In any real place, true coven-ish place, is just not going to bite you in automatically and expose everything that they
All their
do to
secrets
you
to
at
you.
once.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to probably start out with little discussions, probably meet with you a few times, talk to you a little bit, and get to know you. You get to know them. So, I mean, go through those routes first. Don't just jump into something because you're headstrong or you want to, like,
Be a
you're dying
part
to do
of a
it.
group,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because there are plenty of bad people and plenty of bad groups.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of good groups.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
so.
And, we can even do a podcast on that, too, in the future as far as coven work specific. That I wouldn't say that was actually a coven that I joined, but I was just trying
It's
to
hard
answer.
to say what it was.
I'm just trying to answer Ariel's question as
Okay.
to my experience when I was younger. But I'm glad I went through it.
Cool.
So, are we done with the question part?
The questions? Yep.
Yeah,
There you go.
and we did get other feedback from you beautiful people, and we want to say thank you for that. Very, very much. It's
Love the comments.
Yeah.
Love to hear if you guys want to hear of anything, you guys want to learn more about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, feel free to email us, write us on Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always open to hearing people's ideas and trying to put it out there.
And so,
We're kind of
Alright.
boring sometimes on our
Well,
own.
we keep each other up all night talking
Yeah.
about this shit.
That's why
weird
if we had a
things, and it's
recorder
like,
on us,
yeah.
we'd have like 50 million episodes of podcasts
Probably,
because we sit there and
probably.
debate till like
It's just
4
like,
o'clock in the morning
Every
about
time you want to
different
talk to me, I
things.
just tell you to shut up so we can go record it. All right, so let us move on to our topic of the evening for podcast number 2, which is actually the validation of existence.
I'm gonna let you start this because I have no clue where you're trying to go with this.
Well,
So you
know,
start it, and I'll just interject my crap into it.
I know that this may sound a little deep and philosophical and all that kind of crap, but I think that a lot of the things that we do around here, it starts with self, of acknowledging ourself and getting strong. But also we're all subject to the exposure of other people and opinions and beliefs, which back to the original question from Stephanie, as to how we handle ourselves and our beliefs around people who have differences of opinions and beliefs. So as far as the topic goes, not only will it be talking a lot of like normal psychology or that kind of crap, I figure that we can even at the end of the podcast, because we are practitioners, even give them some suggestions, maybe simple spells, as to how they can apply these kinds of things to themselves.
Okay. But now when you say, and this is where I got confused, you
Okay.
kind of explain this thing to me. When you say know yourself, what part are you talking about? Because there's multiple different facets of that. So, I mean, there's like knowing you as an individual and what you care for. And then there's also the transcendent aspect of it when you're talking more about a spirituality part of it all.
Right, and I think that they're broken up into 2 different sectors, nature versus nurture. So if you look at, and I'll start with the nurture. The nurture part of self is, I don't consider that true self. Nurture is our experiences and what we've been exposed to, okay? The ways of the world and how people try to convert or try to teach us how to be a specific individual. Comparison
That's
to
through even
nature.
Parents, that's through everything.
That's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
That's nurture.
Okay.
Nature is, I like to think of it as more of the natural blueprint, your natural true star self design, which I find very interesting in the accuracies of the studies of the occult, such as astrology and numerology and those types of things, because they're scary accurate. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm going to learn about my true self only through astrology and numerology and all these things.
But see, all that stuff's
But
showing
it's-
your characteristics of yourself, but it's
True,
not really
but it's
showing
not truly
the true you.
Right, and I think that actually getting to know true self actually stems from the practice of learning meditation in certain things, and for some of us, even that do believe in maybe a higher power, whatever you want to call it, connection, which I think that's through prayer or meditation, as to answering some questions about ourselves. And I see where you're going. Yeah, because you're an asshole like that, and you like to poke a bear with a stick. But I want to make this clear right now. I'm not this podcast. The title for this wasn't with the intention of trying to figure out your astrological natal chart and the nature part of self. With the validation of existence, I'm talking more of exposure of nurture. So why do people have to feel the need to validate their existence? Does that make sense?
On a human level.
Correct.
So when they're,
Correct.
But see, that's again, it's very broad.
I know.
So I have to suck it in a little bit.
Well, can If you allow me to say something really quick, maybe it'll help guide. Okay?
I'll let you stop.
So, and because we all know that what we're doing right now is we're expressing our opinions and beliefs, kind of thing, and we all have this different crazy shit going on inside of our head. So I figured I'd start with the definition of both words. Not my opinion, but the definition according to Webster, okay, of both the words validation and of existence.
Why didn't you want to use Wikipedia?
Wikipedia, whatever. I wanted something outside of my own brain that, all right. So, the definition of validation, it's got 3 different things, and the third is actually my favorite, and I'm just going to quote that one. But it says the recognition or affirmation that a person or their feelings or opinions are valid or worthwhile. Okay, so that is validation. What does existence mean? In a nutshell, a way of living. So put them together. Recognition or affirmation that a person or their feelings or opinions are valid or worthwhile in regards to the way that they live. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So going back to, even some of the questions that we were talking about, or even the experience that we had with your father, their beliefs, their opinions versus someone else's, and why the need to feel as though they should push. I think that they feel the need to push to seek their own validation of existence. Okay.
It could be a couple different things. On that aspect, and I'm going to use somebody I know as an example.
Okay.
I'm not going to say names. This person, we were hanging out in a group one time, and we all got out of the group at the same time. And he turned around and became a born-again Christian, which is what he felt he needed to do. And one time we're having a conversation, and he asked me, he's like, how do I go about preaching to people about God and all this stuff when I've had such a bad life prior to getting to this point? And I was like, and one of the biggest things I brought up to him and I told him was the way you and I, have discussed numerous times about this stuff is you don't preach it, you live it.
You live it.
So the more you live it, and you don't even worry about what other people think. As long as you're happy with your life and you're doing what you want to do, people are going to be drawn to that.
Right.
And when they come to you and they ask you questions like, why are you so happy? How you have this? Why are you getting this thing? Then you can share with them your belief system.
Right.
And then that way it kind of like...
You're walking your talk, not just a bag of hot air.
Instead of the people that knock on your door, hey, take this pamphlet, join our church. That's the word I'm looking for there. Petty. I mean, to me, it's why you have to try to suck me in if your church is that great.
Because they're trying to save your soul. You know, and I agree with you. If, you know, people will go where they need to go. And the need to go out to convert, to save other people's souls, you know, I have a very hard time with that. It's like, no, when you do that to me, I feel like you more have a need for more people to come into your church to fill your tithing basket.
That's what I was thinking, making money.
I agree with you 100%. If you are truly, truly happy with yourself, then you walk your talk. You don't have to say a damn word, you know, and that shows. But that was even something that you and I were talking about the other night, was that there was a question that I came across as far as something that I came across from Abram Hicks or something like that. Oops, sorry. As far as, do I validate my existence through action? And it's like, no, you validate your existence through thought. Thought leads to action. Action leads to manifestation. Remember this?
Yes, because you know why? This is why I'm getting all excited. Because I've
she's
always
doing a
wanted
happy
to,
dance over here.
Yeah, because I wanted to figure out a way I can incorporate the 7 Hermetic principles into something that we talk about.
Oh, no.
And you're just doing this all for me. I don't have to do a damn thing. You're
all right. So, in other words, I'm done talking for the night, and this is now the Shay Show.
No. Keep going.
No, go ahead.
No, because when you talk about mental, so if you look at, mental is a part of everything. Starts with thought. Okay, based on the one of the principles, the principle of mentalism. Okay, so basically the whole universe is thought. I mean, it's not a true. I'm not going to go really deep with that. But anyway, so I agree with your thought process. So everything bases on a thought before anything can be transpired into anything. So that would be the first step. Mm-hmm. And some people might consider a thought as an action, but in our reality, a thought is a thought. So it's not really an action. It's your mind conjuring something, and then something else manifests itself into the reality based off of that thought.
And usually the people that can take thought and turn it into something else and feel the need to push generally are pushing out of things like guilt, fear. They feel inadequate. So if they can convert you into their ways of thinking, then they feel actually adequate. You know, these are different places that I like to go when it comes to why people have to push their validation of existence, why they push. Why the fuck do people feel that they need to push?
Well, this goes into the psychological aspect of
exactly.
it, because now people, if you're in a bad mood, you want to be around other people who are in a bad mood because it makes you feel, I don't know if the word good is in there. No,
you don't feel
right?
so bad anymore.
Right, because other people are bad with you. But if someone's happy, but then it's like, it's kind of going against what you want to do. So you want to, where am I trying to go with this?
I don't know. Where are you trying to go with this?
I have no freaking idea. I totally lost it. That's why I hate my thoughts, man. My brain runs 400 million directions and I can't control it into one.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
You need to start making some notes.
Right.
What about the attention seekers? What about the ones, and you're guilty of this, and so am I sometimes, but you're not even, you just like to poke, just to say, hey, I just stirred up some shit. I don't even agree with what anybody's saying around here. I just think it's funny, so I'm going to, get the bears fighting and then run out of the room.
But I don't do that for attention. I do it because, hey, I want to see
You're just provoking thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. So even when we have discussion groups, if someone says something and I got to do the total opposite, even though I agree with that person, I'll bring up something totally opposite just to, see how convicted they are in their belief system. Because I love doing that because I love to challenge people. Because if someone's sitting there trying to tell me something, I want to push to see how far you truly know
that you stand
where you
behind
stand
your words. Right.
So I mean, if someone comes up to me and they're Christian and they start talking to me about God and I start talking to them about something else, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, I can get it done." You're not truly convicted in what your belief system is. I like to push those buttons to see, because if you're convicted, then I have utmost respect for you. I'll listen to what you have to say.
Right.
But if you're half-assing this shit, then I'm not going to fucking listen to you. That annoys me. So that's why I push for one. It's not for attention.
Yeah, but there are sometimes you do.
I just like to be an ass.
That's
I just like
because
to be a
you're
wise
five,
ass.
right?
But, it's fun. But I mean, that's why I'll push certain things and play the devil's advocate thing on people.
But I also think that that's one of the reasons why some people will get so terribly upset, too. Even in normal conversation, you know, that's why a lot of people won't talk religion or politics over the dinner table, because it can get really heated, and then, you know, now we've got a food fight and nobody wants to get together at fucking Thanksgiving anymore. Is the fact that we start getting into topics that can hit a nerve here or there because, you know, people have strong beliefs and they may start disagreeing with each other. But why? Why is it that we have to, you know, defend so strongly? You know, I remember one time in a conversation with somebody as to, oh my God, you know, that this person got so heated that I thought he was going to attack me with a hammer. You know, and I think I understand it, that if, you know, even though I firmly believe that a lot of the things that he was blindly attaching himself to, that if when I asked him questions, he couldn't even come up with answers on his own. He had to go back to other people's quotes or the Bible or something else like that. But he defended it so strongly that the door was shut in his mind and in his heart, that if he for a moment were to crack it open to even listen just for a small amount of time as to what somebody else, even myself, had to say, that if I kind of planted a seed of any kind of doubt in his belief, his whole fucking foundation could come crumbling down. You know, I think that people really stand so firm in it and will fight to the death for a lot of times too, because if you yank the rug out from underneath their feet, they don't know what the fuck to do.
I've had this, but see, that falls into a conversation I had with somebody else, another one of my friends. I got a lot of crazy friends. It was he had this anger inside him and he did not want to let it go, and he's had it for 20 plus years. But the thing was, it helped define who he was, and he recalls on it when he needs it. And one of the things that I bring up to people a lot when people tell me these things is the purpose of you holding on to it. And he honestly doesn't even know where that anger stemmed from, because at a certain point of his life, he said he blacked out, so he doesn't remember why he's angry, but he has that in him and he's afraid to let it go. And the problem with people is because once you let that go, you don't know who you are now. It's like that defines you for so long. You've lived with it for 20, 30 years. So now, who are you without it? Mm-hmm. And that's what scares people, I think. That's why a lot of people don't want to let these things go. That's why a lot of people want to stick firm in whatever it is they believe in without actually trying to open up and actually listen to what someone else might have to say.
Yeah, well, they've created their own self-identity. Yeah. And, you know, that's a real tricky line, because if we have to sit there and convince ourselves that we are a certain way due to our experiences, I think that leads to issues of the ego. And,
it's all ego-driven.
Well, and I think that's another area where we humans get ourselves into a whole lot of trouble. I try to work on this real touchy existence of balance, and I understand that ego is necessary. I mean, it's part of the human experience is having ego, but people can tend to have a low ego, you know, which they become doormats in a way to overly inflated egos that think that they're bigger and they're better and they're stronger and they're prettier and, you know, they are the greatest thing since sliced fucking bread.
But again, that brings me to the original question when we did the whole topic about validation of existence. Mm-hmm. So now, who are they seeking the validation from?
Usually it's from their parents. They don't realize it.
It's from everybody around them.
But it stems from parents. So if you really think about it, a lot of the times people are out seeking validation from others and they can't seem to find it is because they feel very inadequate with their relationship that they had with their parents. And that I think that's why counselors and therapists and psychologists bring us back to those childhood days, because we bring that shit with us into our moment and into tomorrow. So how we learned how to handle relationships with these people called parents that we called gods, if we failed miserably, then we go out and we seek validation from other people, not realizing that that's not where you're going to find your answers. You will not feel whole at all when it comes to receiving any type of affirmation from anybody else.
It's a Band-Aid.
It is, but that's why they're walking zombies.
That's missing something, but you're not seeking it from a source. And you being the true source of everything. So, I mean, I think that's why, like, when you were talking about this, I was doing some, like, contemplating on where I wanted to go with it when you were doing it. And a lot of it falls under transcendence from my end, because it's more like, if people are, why do people care what other people think? And that's the biggest question I have. I mean, we're all guilty of it. We worry about how we dress. We worry about how we look in the morning. We worry about what kind of car we drive. Not everybody, but I'm saying a lot of different people. So what do we... I mean, but why? That's my thing.
Because deep down our soul knows. Our brain doesn't. Our soul knows that we need to connect. Okay? So the soul pushes us in some weird way to go out there and connect, but then our eyes get the best of us. And our eyes, which is attached to our ego, okay, says, oh, okay, in order for me to connect with that particular group of people over there, I have to wear Prada, and I have to drive a Porsche, and I have to have a fucking $1 million in the bank account. So then we start judging ourselves, saying, okay, if I want to fit in, if I want to connect, then I want to connect with that particular group over there, then those are the standards. And, well, you know, if those types of things, the Prada and the big house and the Porsche and all that shit make you happy, then by all means, work hard to get into that group if that's what's going to make you happy. I don't think that that's where happiness derives from myself, but I still think that it stems from a deep longing to connect with other people. But they're trying to connect through ways that are very physical rather than spiritual, and it is leading to a planet full of zombies looking at their phones and we're basically invisible. We're not connecting at all. Does that make any sense?
But to me, it's, I don't know, I look at it in a totally different aspect, I guess, because it's like, if you are trying to connect with somebody based on materialistic aspects of it, I mean, there's got to be something that's drawing you to that individual that would make you want to connect with that person, to why you have to go get all these different things. So there's got to be something. So it's going to be ego
status,
because it's going to
power,
be how people perceive you.
It could be all these negative things that they think are going to bring them happiness.
So that wouldn't be, but how would that be a validation of something? Are they just getting self-validation within themselves, or are they just seeking the validation from the people that they're trying
seeking validation from others,
to
perhaps.
get it from?
You know, just trying to validate. You know, I think I heard, because I'm always watching these stupid things on the millennials and trying to understand the younger generation and everything, and one of the things that I hear about the younger people is the fact that they don't feel significant in the world nowadays, that they don't have anything to offer that really counts, that, you know, that they want to connect but they don't know how to. And I honestly think that they just haven't been taught right, you know, myself, because you and I, we grew up in a different generation where parental things were a hell of a lot different than they are now.
Oh yeah, we chased around with a big ass wooden spoon.
But see, we had the fear of God put in us too. You know, we learned not really fear in a bad way, but we had a healthy understanding of fear at a very young age, and respect and dignity, and certain words that you don't hear of nowadays. Now you've got these younger people that are running around that have never really had a dose of true fear, of true humility. Humility? Ask a young person what humility is nowadays. They'll look at you like they think it's a video game or something stupid. You know, there are certain things that they were not brought up with that have such a huge impact on the psyche and on true self that they're fucking clueless. So even these people are running around trying to figure things out, and they have all these phases that we already went through that they haven't yet. So they're going around and they're trying to connect and validate and go and, and I'm not saying, because I'm not going to get all political and stuff here, but they're screaming at the top of their lungs and having fucking temper tantrums and protest on something that, I'm not saying that their ideas aren't good ideas, but the way that they're going about doing it, trying to validate what they feel or what they think, is so ass backwards that, again, I think it stems down to they don't even know themselves. I mean, of course, they're too young. They probably just barely sprout an armpit hair. They don't know shit, even though they think they know it all. But that's our youth.
You're going to bring me down a road I shouldn't go down right now?
Why not? Why? Don't stray too far, but why not?
It's something I've trying to understand for a long time, and I think we've had conversations about all this before. Because yes, our childhoods were different, and our parents' childhoods were different, and the parents' parents' childhoods were different.
Correct.
So it was the way things were at the time. So people were set on different paths and different things. So our childhoods, I'm just going to refer to ours. So we had more. I think there was a line that wasn't present at that time between child abuse and what was discipline.
Right.
And so our generation, I guess, were the ones that started this whole go stand in the corner timeout shit to try to stop people from because of
no child left behind,
the stuff that happened to us from our parents. Now, their parents were probably even worse than theirs. And I'm not saying every parent is like this or anything else. I'm just saying, I'm basing it on our childhood, years of mine.
Right.
Okay, I'm not talking about anybody else's. All right. So then, I think all this stuff is a progression to where we're at today. Because now, I mean,
it went from one extreme to the other.
But if you look at it in the short span of time, sir, ma'am, all this stuff doesn't exist anymore, where it used to back. And there are still people, there are some young people that do come in that still do that stuff. You know what I mean? Which is admirable, right? But not everybody is taught those different things. So I think a lot of it comes from, I'm not going to say the parents' responsibility, because it not just falls on the parents. It's also within the schools. It's also within all this stuff.
Within the society?
It's everything. I mean, it's a whole conglomeration of everything. And that's why I don't want to go on this topic, because it's just going to bring up a bunch of shit that I'm just going to spewed out, and everybody's going to hate me for this.
Okay.
So I'm going to start speaking my mind, and that's not going to be a good thing.
Well, no, your mind is a beautiful thing. That's why we're doing this. But can we reel it back to maybe even validation of faith when it comes to, I believe it was Stephanie's question, and going back, well, let's kind of keep it as to why people push their beliefs. I think she was talking about you, or not you specifically, but how we handle ourselves around a family that is different, that has different faiths and beliefs. And, I believe that everybody has the right to set rules in their household as to what is and is not tolerated. I have conversations with people all the time when they come into the store and they say, I still live with my parents, or I'm back home for a little while, and I really want to practice this new faith, and these rituals and everything. And my mom is a hardcore Christian, or she's Catholic, and she's very much against it, and she knows what I'm into, and now she's bashing me all the time.
But again, now, see, this is where I have, I guess, a difference. I don't know. The only way I can relate to this is even with my experience with my father. My father's a hardcore Christian, and yes, I was on the edge of all right, now I'm going to have to deal with 400 hours of preaching after he walks into our store and he leaves. But it wasn't, I know, but it wasn't the fact that I was afraid to let him in the store. I just knew with the shit I would have had to deal with after the fact, but that didn't stop me from letting him in the store to experience what it is that we do.
Right.
But the thing is, I think if you're going to try to, but I think this is where communication falls in, and this is where too many people are lacking this today in the world, is being able to communicate with people and being able to talk to people.
That's because they're too busy pushing their beliefs.
So
they're pushing instead of communicating.
If you go to your parents, and if your parents hopefully have an open mind and sit there and be able to talk to them, you say, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to look into doing. But you have to know what you're trying to do, and you have to understand what you're trying to do before you can try to convey it to somebody else.
Right.
Because, I mean, if you try to do it, it's like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, having a battle with an unarmed person. So, I mean, if they're straight, hardcore convicted in what they want to do, and that's it, this is it, and you're not, and you're teeter-tottering,
you will be crushed.
They're going to see through it. They're going to keep bombarding you with their stuff. But if you know what you're doing, if you know what you're talking about, and you say,
and you love it,
this is why I want to do it, and you can explain it in a pseudo-intelligent fashion, I guess, but then they should hopefully, I'm not saying every parent will, and not every person will, but hopefully respect your choice of what you're trying to do, and so you can actually try to pursue it. But now if they do listen to you and they do decide to say that, and they say, okay, I don't want you doing it in my house, then you got to respect their rules too, because it is their house.
Exactly. That's where I was trying to get at, the difference of the two. If you're under somebody else's roof and it is their house and their rules, that is their home. And you know, abide by their wishes. If you are not happy, if you are lacking the freedom that you feel that you need to practice wholly, then you need to get out. You need to find your own place so that you are not insulting them and they are not insulting you. And I understand that can be difficult. You know, some people say, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the capability of just getting up and leaving, you know. So, and I agree with you, Shay, that if it gets down to the point where you realize that, hey, I'm not leaving anytime soon, it's not possible. But if I can sit down with mom and dad in the living room and we all just keep it chill and say, hey, let's just have a heart-to-heart. I hear you, mom and dad. This is what you do. This is your house. I respect your wishes, and I respect your faith. However, I'm going to ask that in my sacred space, which is my bedroom, and that is my room, that you respect my wishes and my space, okay, and the things that I do. If you are uncomfortable with me burning things in my room, well, guess what? There's other things that we can do to substitute burning things. You know, if you don't want me chanting out loud, then that's fine. I'll chant into a pillow. All I'm saying is I'm willing to work with you if you're willing to work with me. But is it possible that we can all be happy and healthy under one roof? And if they're to the point where they're completely adamant and saying, absolutely not, I think what you're doing is devil-worshipping shit and not under my roof, then you've got two choices. You either keep your mouth shut and go in your bedroom, and what you do behind your own closed door, that's your business. And if they find out, guess what? They may kick you out, or, you know, you find a way out.
You can even go to the woods and do it outside.
You can.
You have to actually be able to do it in the house itself all the time.
Right. I mean, there are ways of doing this anywhere, but still have some fucking respect for the house that you're in, no matter what their beliefs are. And if you don't like the atmosphere that you're in, then do your hardest, do your best to try to get out so that you're in a space where you feel safe, that you can practice. And then you have the other people. I get a lot of young ladies that come in here too that say, you know what, my boyfriend and I just moved in together and he doesn't like what I do. And my first question to her is, why the fuck didn't he know what you did before you decided to move in together? So now you got two choices. You either let him boss you into not doing what you want to do, or you stand up to him. You know, it's what are you going to do? I mean,
again, to me, a healthy relationship is being able to accept the other person for who they are, no matter what it is. You chose that person to be in your life, then you should be open enough and willing enough to accept that person for who they are, and vice versa.
Right.
It should not be a one-way street all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If it's like you came to me tomorrow and said you want to be Christian, I don't care.
Right.
Good. I'm happy. I'll support you. I'll take you to church. I might hang out with you at church. I don't care. Maybe I'll learn something. Doesn't mean you're going to convert me into your way of thinking or doing anything else. And then the same thing. If I decided to drop everything and turn around and to go do this, I'm sure you'd support me the same way. That's a strong relationship. That's,
Right.
But again, communication, to me, is like the key to it.
There's I even heard from one young gentleman that came in that said that, he's really been practicing a lot. He really likes this. And he wound up falling for a Christian girl. And the girl is really pushing him to convert to her ways. And I told him the same thing. Number one, you can't ask her to change. She loves her faith. You love your faith. You're either going to make this work or you're not. But you should not be bullied into doing something just in the sake to make the relationship work, because now you won't be happy and the relationship will fail.
Yep.
So I agree with you.
Two opposing forces trying to go at each other. And that's the thing, though. But compromise is also there. I mean, just because you practice witchcraft or you call yourself Wiccan or you call yourself whatever it is that you call yourself doesn't mean that you can't go to a Christian church.
No.
And hang out, see what they do, see what they got to teach.
Learn.
I mean, everything is like, you take it out as like a parable to me. It's like, that's why I'm open to so many different things. That's why I'm not afraid to try different things or try to get into different things, because to me it's power, it's knowledge. I mean, if I can get something out of something, then it's worth my time. If it's not, then I don't. Plus, sometimes the Christian churches, they got great music. You can get up and dance around and feel the energy. It's pretty damn good.
Right.
But, I mean, it doesn't mean you have to sit there and, like, bow down and kneel and stand.
Well, there are a lot of the rituals
that
that some other faiths practice, that even if I am in that atmosphere, I'm not there to disturb anybody, but rather sit there as a student and learn. But when it comes to the ritual parts, such as standing, kneeling, taking host, communion, that type of thing, I choose not to do that. And I will not do it, even though 99.9% of the congregation get up and do it, and they look at me like, what's wrong with you? It's something that I'm not comfortable doing, and I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong, because it's not. And I'm not going to tell you why I think it's weird, because that's not why I'm there.
Right.
It's, you do what you have to do. I'm not here to make you uncomfortable. Please don't make me feel uncomfortable either.
Right. People, when my grandmother passed away, it was a Christian funeral, or not Christian, sorry, it was a Catholic funeral. And we had to go to the church, and they were doing the same thing. Again, I didn't stand, bow, kneel, do all that shit that they did. When it was time, I stood up when it was time to stand up, but other than that, I sat down. And I listened to what they had to say. I wasn't there for them. I'm not there for the people. I'm there for her, for just to be the last goodbye to her. So none of the other shit even bothered me when it comes to that. And I've even had family members. I can see them out of the corner of my eye staring at me, trying to say, dude, what are you doing? Because I'm not following, because they're all Catholic too.
Let them stare.
But again, it didn't affect me.
Stare.
If they had
No.
a problem with it, they could have came up to me after the thing and said, why didn't you do this? And I would explain myself to them.
Right.
But again, I'm not going to purposely disrespect them and sit there and be like, oh, this sucks, this is crap, I'm not going to do this.
No, you're not
It's
there
just
to draw attention to yourself.
my choice to do that,
And, we're sitting here, we're talking about how it is to deal with people close to us, such as our family or our significant other. If you can actually get good at working, compromising with the people closest to you, then when it comes to the people outside in the real world, shit, you got them down. If you can get to the point where it doesn't matter what your family thinks of you, if they agree with you or disagree with you, that they actually respect you for standing up for yourself, then Joe Schmo off the street, when he comes up and says, if he questions you, he's going to be like, shoe fly, get the fuck out of here. Who are you? It's going to be so easy to practice those same things with the outside world. Now, there's a lot more of the fuckers out there in the world that are going to come at you from all different angles. But in all reality, who the fuck are they?
But again, I'm going to get
poked
this is
again.
changing. No,
Okay.
you're not poking.
Okay.
I'm going to what was it? Someone sent an article to our Facebook page, Daniel, I believe. And I think I also got the same through a text from Elizabeth. So I read the article, and it was about people that claim to be Wiccans in the United States as it stands now. It's totally on a rise. And right now we're at 1.5 million people who supposedly
Or of the Wicca faith.
or the Wiccan faith, or practice witchcraft, and they like acknowledge
But
that.
not all Wiccans are witches.
I know. I'm just saying. But
Okay.
so
make
that's
that
why I
clear.
said. So some people would say Wiccan, some people would say witchcraft, but they fall under that vein. So it's 1.5 million, and the Methodist is 1.4 million. But the
Ooh,
Christians still
getting big.
rule the major proportion of it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not a competition. But the only reason I bring that up is because there's more and more people out there that are like you in society than you actually realize. And a lot of everybody's afraid to open up their mouth and actually say it because of the fear or whatever it is that people are going to look at them as. And why would you be afraid if you are happy with who you are? Why do you have to be afraid of expressing that to somebody, even in the workplace? Because even when the last job we had, you know how many Christians were in the place we worked at?
Yeah.
And they'd come up, and they knew what we did, and they'd come up and they ask questions, or they sit there and be like, well, start trying to preach to me, and I'd throw the stuff right back at them, but not in a harmful way. I'd just
In
tell
an
them.
enlightening way.
I'd ask them questions, and they'd ask
Sure.
me questions, and I'd
Provoking
ask
thought.
them questions. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to change. I'm like, I'm not here to tell you to change.
Right.
I
And
mean,
don't ask me to change
right.
either,
I
because
mean,
that's not going to happen.
You're not going to get me to church, but I'm not changing.
Right.
I don't expect you to change. We're just having a conversation.
Right.
But doesn't mean I'm any different than you. We're people. We're all on the same path, man, and that's what people need to realize. We're not here. Life should not be a competition, basically.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people look at it like that. And again, that's where this whole validation of existence, I'm trying to but that's all on a human aspect of it.
With ego, with a lot of ego, because we are humans, so we tend to think and operate with our ego, but we have to understand that the ego is responsible for things such as hate, fear, and delusion. And delusion is basically any belief that is false or wrong. So our egos, I was just having a chat with somebody, and we were talking about, I think the topic of the devil came up. And I first started off by, what you and I basically say, that we don't believe that there's, a God, angels or devils or demons and that kind of stuff. But then I stopped for a second. I said, you want to know what I think the devil is? And it's not this creature running around with horns and a pitchfork and, lives in a lake of fire and that kind of shit that people go to and rot and burn for all eternity. I think that the ego, the devil, is the overinflated ego. I think that the devil, because we all have the devil inside of us, you'll never ever get rid of the devil. Just like you have enlightened, you've got lighter in you, you also have heavy. And the ego, it's that fine balance, between too little or too much. I think that an overinflated ego is the one that tells you, you know what, bitch, you're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. Who the fuck are you? You're not, you're not enough. You're shit. So when we choose to listen to that part of our ego, that negative part of our ego, it leads to fear of, oh my God, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not rich enough. So then we start to overcompensate. We start trying so hard to prove our own ego wrong. We're trying to prove to our own devil that it ain't right.
Yeah.
And then we start projecting our fears and insecurities and inadequacies on everybody else. Because that's what people are basically doing. When you are pushing, you're projecting. And if you're pushing anything negative, it's the shit that you see inside of yourself. That's what projection is. What are you about to say? I know, you got this fucking smile on your face, and I'm like, oh, God.
Because now all this brings me to the second principle of the Hermetic.
Are we really going through?
I am going. I'm not going through all of them. I'm just going through. I got a couple of them.
All right. Are we going to, re-talk about these sometime in greater depth? Because
I'll get
I'm
into
not.
depth
Okay.
at a different time. This is all just touching on it because all this applies. And this is what I was talking about in the first podcast I did. The Kybalion, Kybalion, is the basis of almost all things. And if people actually like read it and studied it, you'd realize a lot of these different things. So one principle is the principle of correspondences, and that's basically as above, so below, as above. Or as above, so below, as within, so without. Okay? So it's all the same concept. So now if you have these thoughts in your head and your ego is not in check and you're not balanced properly, then what you put out in your mind, because again it goes back to the first one, the principle of mentalism, how all is mental. Okay, so it starts with a thought. So once you get that thought progressing, now all of a sudden it's going to the above part of it. So once it hits the above, it has to come back down. So you put it out, and now it's transpiring. It's becoming something. All right, so that's where what you were talking about when you're bringing up these different things with like the ego. So if the ego's not in check, so you're manifesting your own demons, you're manifesting all these different things that come into your life because you're not, I don't know if the right word would be happy with yourself.
You're not balanced.
Balanced within yourself. And by balance, it's you have to live in both realms. You can be in the spiritual aspect, but you also have to be in the human aspect. So it's finding that perfect balance between the two.
It's hard in the beginning, but it gets so easy. And when you're out of balance, when you've been there for a while, you're quick to the awareness of being out of balance comes, and it's actually very refreshing. It's like, oh shit, that's why my whole world is falling apart around me, because I'm out of balance. As soon as I get back into balance again, guess what? Life gets so much smoother and easier again. You know?
It's a basic thing. That's where it all goes into the whole transcendent aspect of it all. Because the physical realm, you have to deal with the people, and you have to keep yourself in check on this aspect. But on the spiritual realm, you have to keep yourself in check there. And to me, I think the biggest thing with the whole validation of existence is people want to know who they are. And that's, I think, the key thing to it all.
And they don't know who they are. That's why they jump into a pool of conformity that says, this is who you are, and this is what you're going to do. And that's why a lot of people turn into sheep and follow blindly and start doing destructive things to themselves and to other people, or even communities and cultures.
Yeah. You have to know you.
Right.
You as a person. And a lot of that is, like you said before, through meditations. It's also you have to make yourself vulnerable to all different things.
Well, that's being vulnerable means saying fuck fear.
But it's also, you got to be, it's not just vulnerable to saying fuck fear, it's also you got to know your own mortality. And once you accept your own mortality, you realize that you are not what is it called? I mean, life is short.
Right.
And the more you sit there and you focus on the nonsense bullshit through life, the more stuff is passing by.
Right.
I mean, you're missing all kinds of stuff because you're worried about having to buy this fucking car that you really don't need, because this car here gets you where you got to go and back.
Right.
But you got to have the better one. I went through all this, so I know, so I'm talking from experience. So you have to have the better one for what? You know what I mean?
Right.
My dick's bigger than yours, didn't you say this before?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, what are you really trying to prove to anybody? You're only doing it for you. You're not doing it for nobody else, because honestly, I could give a shit what kind of car you drive. And I think half the other people out there can really give a shit what kind of car you drive. And if they are, then they're focused on the wrong things. So why do you need to be around them people?
And again, I can't help but feel that the people that are surrounded with big, elaborate toys that still are not happy and they're still chasing the next big thing, I honestly believe that they don't feel like they are enough. I don't know if their parents drilled that into their head. They grew up believing that they just weren't good enough. They were not enough. They weren't pretty enough. They weren't smart enough. They weren't fast enough. They weren't enough. So they go through their whole life trying to prove to themselves that they are enough. And if they can prove to other people that, look, I am rich enough, then maybe I will feel enough. You know, and you will never feel enough through other people. You have to know that you are enough. You know, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive to grow. You know, just don't accept yourself like enough's enough. I'm perfectly fine that way that I am. No, there's still that balance that comes into play. You still allow room for growth, But stop fucking beating yourself into the ground because you are not rich enough. You're not pretty enough. My lips aren't fat enough. My ass is not big enough. My hair it's not curly enough. My wallet is not fat enough. My resume is not thick enough. What is it that you're chasing? What is it that really makes you happy? And if you're trying to find happiness out there, then you're going to be chasing the enough word until the day that you die. And like you said, life's fucking short, and you're going to die miserable.
That's why I fall back into the whole, with Wicca, with almost every religion will talk about this, the as above, so below. Because again, what you put out is what's going to manifest itself in your reality and in your world. So if you're sitting there and you're focused on the wrong things, and by wrong things, I don't mean wrong to anybody else, I mean wrong to you. And you know in yourself what is acceptably right and what is acceptably wrong.
Right.
Fuck what society tells you, fuck what the TV tells you, fuck what newspapers tell you, fuck what anything else tells you. You internally know. And if you don't know, then you need a better connection with yourself in order to determine what inside you is like. Once you get that in check, you're going to know what is right and wrong between yourself. And again, if you're focused on what is right, then money's not going to matter. Nothing else is going to matter because everything is going to come to you that for you to live.
Well, control is a big word, though, with a lot of people. I think that as humans, we are taught from a young age that if you want something, stick to it and just go and control everything and dominate. Control is a tricky word too, where it's not like it should not be a part of our existence. It should. But again, in that healthy balance, just like pride is not a bad thing, but it can be under or over inflated. Ego is not a bad thing. It could be under or over inflated. Fear. Actually, you and I have had debates on this, and I think that'd be kind of a cool topic, so I won't even mention that thing. But control, there's a fine balance.
Remember what thing?
with fear as to if it's necessary or not. But control is also another word that needs a healthy balance.
Yeah.
There's too little or too much.
The problem is we want what we want, and we want it now. We don't.
And
that's
we're
trying to
so
control.
Impatient. These fucking computers and cell phones have spoiled us rotten. But I came across I don't know if it was a YouTube video or something, but the comedian Jim Carrey?
Yep.
Yeah. He actually said two different things when it came to, how life can actually happen to you or for you rather than to you. And as to who am I, why am I here, and what is all this about? Who am I? Well, if you're still trying to figure out exactly who you are, but we know that our souls want to connect. So if connection is a big thing on the subconscious level, right, and we're getting there, he said that there were two things that you can ask yourself, and I really, really appreciated it. The first one was, you know what you're naturally good at and things that you've learned to get good at. So, number one, how will you serve the world?
That's transcendence.
Right? How will you serve the world? And then the second one is, what can your talents provide? He's a comedian. He makes people laugh. Laughter is crazy and extreme medicine that is so healing. So even if you don't know exactly what your destiny is to be, you'll eventually get there. And there's certain questions that you can ask for that too. But in the meanwhile, how will you serve the world? Because by serving other people, you serve yourself. And if you actually think about how you're going to help other people, you don't think so much about how much of an asshole or how unpretty you are or how much, you don't have the right kind of cars and shit. And then what are you good at? What kind of talents you got? Go out there. You're going to have some people that don't want to be part of your audience, and you're going to have plenty of people that do. Just keep doing what you fucking do that you love to do.
See, everything that he's saying is actually, I forget who the lady was. It's actually based on psychological research, what he's saying, because I actually read it. And her principle is self-concept. Okay? So, I mean, the basic thing with everybody, and it's basically pretty much going to be repeating what you said. Who are you and what makes you you? Those are the biggest questions that anybody actually, most of the time, actually have within themselves that they struggle with all the time. Okay, so they call that self-concept. All right, so once you understand that, then you understand yourself and you have everything down. So a lot of it is based on self-transcendence. All right, and transcending is, it could fall under metaphysical, could fall under otherworldly aspect of it, but it's basically the quality or state of being. All right, and then the other one is like, the other part of it that she touched on was vulnerability, one's own, and knowing your own mortality. Then the other part is your well-being. If you're healthy, if you're whole, and if you're satisfied. Those are the biggest things that anybody cares for, right? But also understanding that you're only a small part of the greater whole, the human being, through nature, the universe, and a small part of the divine, if that's what you believe in and what you follow. Mm-hmm. So everything that he's talking about, because here, right? Sorry, I'm going left. I'm not going off topic.
I'm trying.
Right. So an example of transcendence, okay, is you put your own needs and interests aside, and you see the big picture and how you fit into it. Okay, talking about everyday life. A shift in flow from yourself to others. So you're losing your selfishness and your egotism. All right, your egoism, I should say. So this is everything that you talked about. So then a shift in values, you're no longer motivated by external motivations or rewards, but you're more interested in eternal rewards for activities. So you're looking at the reward for an activity is the activity, if that makes any sense. So you're not getting you're not being recognized for what you did. The reward is the activity itself that you're doing for somebody.
Yeah, the last quote that he had was, the effect that you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Meaning how you connected with people, not money. That's not the currency. It is how you made the change, how you actually connected. And
so that's basically all this is.
It is all
validation. I mean, I don't know if it's validation, but that makes you. We just had this conversation with the guy earlier that was at the house looking at the window. Same thing. He goes to McDonald's, or if he buys a burger somewhere, and the person behind him, he'll just throw the money at him. Mm-hmm. Or not throw the money at him, but he'll pay for their food. Or if he's at a restaurant, he doesn't want to get rewarded for it. He just wants people to know. He'll pull the waitress over and say, hey, I want to buy their food.
Right.
Don't tell them who I am. They don't need to know anything. They don't need to know even that I did it. Just let me pay, and I'm going to pay for the food, and I'm going to leave before they even realize it was paid for.
I think the big difference in it is that we are running around trying to say and feel and prove that we are great, when in all reality, we should be feeling and knowing and believing that we are grateful.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference. Being great, no, you're not great. You are not special. I don't care what your fucking parents told you. You are not special. You are unique. We are all complex individuals.
Back to that thing, we're a small little piece of the entire big picture.
You are not special. I am no more special than Shay. Shay's no more special than anybody else, even though he will. Yeah, see, I knew that was coming. You are not fucking special. We are all connected. And if we are all going to survive each other, we have to connect with each other. And, even in the meanwhile, while you are still asking yourself questions like, who are you? Why are you here? What are you doing? What makes you the happiest? And what do you want to accomplish? While you're sitting there trying to answer those questions with yourself, will actually give you a path for your purpose. In the meanwhile, while you're trying to figure that shit out, know what you can offer, and just start doing it. Now, to those of you out there that are listening to me that come in often and say, well, I give and I give and I give and I give. I'm an empath, and everybody leaves me drained. Well, you're not listening to everything that we've been saying earlier about balance. And balance is the key word here. We do give, but we also receive. So I'm not telling you to totally ignore yourself right now and try to come to grasp with who you truly are so that you can contribute wholeheartedly in the world. You still have to do that. In fact, I think that that's the most important thing that you do. But while you are doing that, still, for those of you that don't know how to give, that don't know how to put yourself out there beyond your fears and have conversations, put down your fucking phone, get out behind your fucking video games, all this delusionary escapism things, because that you are so disconnected from everybody else right now. Yep. And I'm getting really sick of hearing people that are in front of me telling me that they feel so disconnected, but they've got their face in their phone. I want to take it and fucking set it on fire and throw it across the room and say, now, motherfucker, now you're connected. You don't like it? Well, get used to it. You don't like talking to me
when I'm on my phone?
I fucking hate that. We are very disconnected. We need to become connected again.
But again, you can't connect with other people if you cannot connect with yourself.
Correct.
That's the problem. Once you connect to yourself, then you can connect to everybody else that exists. But you have to be connected with you first.
Yes.
Because again,
number one. It is number one.
That's where it starts.
Right.
For the most part. And I got a couple ways to get connected. You want to hear them?
Sure.
All right.
Go for it.
First part, explore basic meditation techniques.
Yeah.
All right. So learn how to meditate. Learn how to
And I want to do a podcast on that, by the way.
What? Meditation?
Prayer meditation,
okay.
Yeah.
So then I won't go in depth, but explore basic meditations. Okay, understand the principle and the purpose of meditation, not just to meditate. Okay, understand why you're meditating. And then you'll see what it does to you and what it does to your body.
Okay, number two.
All right? So empower yourself with knowledge and wisdom to build your awareness.
Learn, motherfucker.
Okay, again, it's everything I said. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful you become. But you're not talking power over other people. You're talking power within yourself. Okay? And don't be afraid of the journey. All right, spiritually or physically, to find your insight. All right? Fear holds you back from everything. And I know you want to do something on fear later, and I won't talk about it too much, but you opened my eyes to that one time when we went to roller skating this one place. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. It was fun. And I was all weird about it, but it turned out to be the best fucking night I ever had. So it was a great time. And we had fun with a lot of little kids. It was a good time. But anyway, so find your spiritual techniques, your own spiritual techniques, all right, that bring you closer to your higher purpose and your ideal self. Okay, when I say, I'm not saying your higher self, I said your higher purpose. Because we're all here, I'm not saying we're here for a reason, but we all are a small little piece of it all.
How will you serve the world?
Right. Yeah. And then the last is to raise your vibration. And the only way you're going to raise your vibration is by all these other things. Because, and again, this falls under the occult aspect of everything. If you vibrate higher than something else, then all of a sudden that thing will either match your vibration or you can control its vibration to bring it up to match your vibration.
And you know how you can do it for the people that are like, I don't know what that means and that sounds too complicated and you're fucking what? No, that don't work. You know how you can dumb it down? When you're angry or you're depressed, fucking stand up and smile. Even if you're faking it, even if you're forcing it, fucking smile.
It changes things.
You're changing your vibration.
Right.
You are. And just do it. Every time you feel like shit, smile. Do it in the mirror. You know what? Because when you do it in the mirror, now you're making a goofy fucking smile and you're going to laugh at yourself. And when you start laughing, your vibration is changing too. So to sit here and tell people, change your vibration. Well, how the fuck do I do that? Even if it means simple steps like that.
I didn't say change, I said raise.
Raise, well,
so again,
it's still
the same
changing.
Concept, yeah. And the other thing you can do too is every morning, give yourself and this sounds really stupid, I know, but give yourself a reaffirming affirmation to say yourself in the mirror every single morning when you wake up. But make it positive. Don't put anything negative in there.
Right.
Keep it all on a positive note before you go to bed. The same thing. I mean, that's just changing your vibration within yourself.
It's not stupid at all. It's not stupid at all. Number one, I love waking up in the morning, going in the back of the house, sitting down, feeding the squirrels, having my morning cigarette, and shooting the shit.
You smoke?
Yes, I do.
You're gonna bad.
Whatever. And just be alone by myself for a bit because I'm so not a morning person. But while I'm out there and I'm watching the world go by, I kind of have a silent chit-chat with what I call spirit, and I'm grateful that I woke up. I'm here another fucking day, which means that I have another, more time to be happy and help people. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And even like what you're saying, and it's not fucking stupid. People need to do it. After they wake up and they go in the bathroom and they're washing their face and brushing their hair and, look in your mirror and tell yourself that you're enough. That your ego will not fucking destroy you today. That when somebody walks by and they have more than what you have, that may be good for them, but it's not good for you. That you have what you need. Needs and wants, don't get me going on that one, because that's a different podcast too. You are enough. You're fucking smart. You're beautiful. You're intelligent. You're sexy. Would you want to fuck you? If not, then make yourself fuckable. Okay?
I'd fuck me.
I'd fuck me too. If you are
Silence
not,
of the lambs.
If you think you're a bitch, then who wants to be in a relationship with that? Then address it and say, you know what, I'm going to work on that. But you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Being enough does not mean that you're going to be perfect. It means you know who and what you are, you know what you're good at and what you can contribute, and you know those motherfucking qualities about you that you really should work on and get a little bit better. I think that if anybody and everybody can just start off simply like that, and get into the habit of doing that, they will start to raise their vibration.
Again.
Well, a habit means you do it every fucking day.
I know.
For at least 3 weeks.
I think we had this conversation too. And not in a bad way, but in a good way. So habit reaffirms in your subconscious mind. And once everything hits your subconscious mind and you're conscious of that's what manifests things into a reality. So a conscious mind is a temporary. Your subconscious mind becomes a permanent. So the more you do it, and the more you sit there and you do things daily, every single day, then the more it sinks into your subconscious mind and it manifests itself into a reality.
How the hell did we get way over here from the validation of existence?
I have no idea, but it all ties in.
Everything ties in. Chicken pot pie ties in with this too, if I wanted to.
That's why I asked you about the validation of existence, because to me it's what are you trying to validate, on a personal or on a spiritual, or on a human or on a spiritual, because they both tie in together. You can't have one without the other. That's the balance.
And I understand the validation of our own existence, but dealing with other people's issues of them attempting to validate their own existence. You can have your shit together and maybe they don't, or maybe it's vice versa.
But see, that's the thing. If you got your shit together, then what they think doesn't matter.
Exactly. And it won't. But, hopefully, and what you said even in the beginning, this music's going to put me to fucking sleep. How boring is this? Okay, sorry.
Talk faster. So
okay, so I got to pee too. When you shut your mouth and you lead by example, you become the flame that all moths are attracted to. No matter, those moths will believe and practice and do all kinds of crazy shit. If those moths are not happy with their existence, then they will come up and they will ask you, what makes you fucking shine? And if you know how to handle yourself, and if you don't know, we'll talk about that again later, okay? Yeah. But you have to know that you are the flame, and let people come to you. And continue to be a stronger, brighter flame every fucking day through your actions, not your words. In other words, shut your fucking hole and walk your talk. People will come to you because you're fucking amazing. So stay amazing, and when you stay amazing, they come to you, you connect, and then you can help them become amazing too.
It's one of the things, I might get in trouble for this or I might not, who knows, I'll find out later. One of the things that the Golden Dawn teaches, we don't do magic, we are magic. So by becoming that and sending out those vibrations and becoming one with yourself and finding that total balance and living like Beth said, become that flame, then you are the magic.
Ta-da!
How the hell did we do that?
Ta-da!
I think we confused the fuck out of a lot of people.
I know. I think I confused myself.
Got all over the place.
Okay.
All right.
For those of you, you think that you're on some philosophical, well, I like to throw a little bit of philosophy in here and there, but, this doesn't sound very witchy. How is this a witchy podcast? You want some witchy shit to do, okay? When it comes to even validating your own existence and some of those questions that we threw out earlier, who are you, why are you here, talking about meditation, all this crap, or even how will you serve the world? Take a candle, start off real simple. Just take a fucking candle, okay? And don't even do anything fancy with the candle, but write that question down. Write your question down, all right, on a piece of paper. It could be, what makes you the happiest? What makes me the happiest? I don't fucking know what makes me happy right now. So that's just a question I'm gonna write down on this piece of paper. And put your candle on top of it. And while the candle is burning, stare at the flame. That's all I want you to do. I don't want you to think. I don't want you to do anything else. Just stare at the fucking flame.
If I wrote down that question, a bag of potato chips would pop in front of me.
Because you are magic.
I like potato chips.
The candle bursts into a flame of flaming Cheetos.
What makes me happy? Potato chips.
Yeah. But, even though Shay's being a dork right now, I want you to try it. It's really, really simple. And I know it's not all grand poopah magic, great magician, enchantress shit. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And starting somewhere, you got to start with yourself. So dim the lights. If you want some light music with no lyrics, please no lyrics. Just a nice steady rhythm of something, some incense, make you feel all sexy, in which I don't give a shit. Write your question down, put a candle on top of it, burn it, and stare at the motherfucker while the whole thing is burning. You may be surprised as to what you get by the time the candle's done. In fact, I'd be kind of interested to hear from people, even if they have comments, for people who haven't done this and maybe want to try. I would love that. I love hearing people's stories as to some cool, creepy, awesome shit.
Someday in the future, we'd like to actually do a live podcast in front of a whole bunch of people actually here and kind of have like a totally open forum where everybody's talking and try to get a bunch of people.
Is this just audio or is this video or?
I don't know. I'm not that technically skilled yet. Okay. I'm getting there though. We'll figure it out.
If you put a camera in my face, it means I have to actually brush my hair.
Yeah.
So, okay. Right. I'll make note to self, and you have to put clothes on. You got to stop doing this stuff naked.
Come on.
Anyway.
Right, ruining it all.
I know.
So the bottom line, again, what you just said, it all falls under the as above, so below, so within, so without.
As within, so without.
So, and how this relates to that. The tiniest habits influence the grand scheme of our behavior. All right? So by anything that you're doing, you got to repeatedly do it and ingrain that shit into your subconscious mind, because that's going to manifest itself into reality. So light those candles, do the spells, do meditations, do all these different things.
And if you have questions, talk to people of a like-minded nature. Stop going to people until, the other people that don't know for now. Just kind of,
And we're here.
We're always here for you guys, too. We can refer you to other people.
We might talk your ear off for about 4 hours, but we're here.
We are here. All right. We have been talking a very long time, and apologize for that. We really went off on tangents, but it was kind of a deep thing. And, if you've got questions off of this or specific, situations, we can't start off every podcast talking about 45 minutes of certain things, but, we can try to answer on Facebook or other things too. So feel free, ask us questions, share your experiences. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And, I think we're going to wrap this up, right? Because I got turkey on the brain.
You're going to go feed me some potato chips?
You're getting, no. Now I'm going to make you fast until your face explodes from eating too much turkey in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So remember, you're not great. Be grateful, okay? And you are enough. And work on your shit so that we can all connect and be beautiful and fucking actually like each other around here.
Do you know what you just did? You just actually tied in Thanksgiving with being grateful. Isn't it the season of giving thanks? Look how you did that.
Look how I'm magical.
You're fucking awesome.
All right, you beautiful people. Y'all stay safe, stay warm. Happy holidays. This is Book of Shadows podcast number 2. This is Feather speaking.
And Shay.
Blessed be.
Bye.